Today is a day to rejoice, my friends. We have seen a once proud stalwart of the RTS genre and the entire gaming industry come back from the grave, and its name is Command Conquer.
Welcome back, Commander.
One of the first games I ever played and truly loved, Command Conquer as a series has a special place in my heart, and I've been waiting for over a decade to get back onto the battlefield with GDI and the Brotherhood of Nod. With the last real release, and no, I'm not counting that Rivals bullshit, of the Command Conquer license coming out a literal decade ago, I honestly never thought this day would come, but here we are. Tiberian Dawn and Red Alert have both been rebuilt from the ground up, and it's everything we could have hoped for. God help me for saying this, but good job, EA. Oh God, I feel sick. Well, with the return of this series, I guess what our mastermind has been preaching to us all these years is true all along.
You can't kill the Messiah.
For the uninitiated, Command & Conquer is a military RTS game that released in 1995 that focused on the conflict between the Global Defense Initiative, GDI for short, and the Brotherhood of Nod. 14 months later, a sequel was released, titled Red Alert, in which Albert Einstein traveled back in time to 1924 to kill Adolf Hitler. But with Hitler out of the picture, that led to the rise of the Soviet Union and ultimately a world war between the USSR and the Allies. This remastered edition consists of these two games, plus all the previously released expansion packs, online multiplayer, quality of life improvements to the control, audio, graphics, and cutscenes. If you don't like RTS games, or have played Command & Conquer before and didn't like it, this game won't change your mind. And while this release doesn't reinvent the wheel, it takes everything you loved about the first two Command & Conquers and soups them up to new levels with the benefit of added technology and flair. And while both are worth playing, I find Tiberian Dawn to be the better game between the two. During the time of writing, I've completed the campaigns for both GDI and the Brotherhood of Nod and Tiberian Dawn, and a majority of the Soviet Union campaign in Red Alert. As an avid CNC fan, I already know how these plots unfold, and let's get this out of the way right now. The writing and acting of these cutscenes are not Quentin Tarantino levels, and nobody here is winning an Oscar.
Jeez Louise! It's Stalin!
Well, except Kane. That dude's the man. Give him all the awards.
This is the Pentagon. A full frontal attack with your strongest forces should render their military center of operation.
Yes. Power shifts more quickly than some people think. I am Kane.
I love every second of the cheese-tastic cutscenes featuring the worst acting you've ever seen, shitty costumes, and a complete lack of self-awareness to how silly it all is.
I believe we may well be at the turning point of this war.
Wipe his temple off the face of the earth. Destroy the bastard.
Excellent. Now, do it again in French and German. I want 300 copies made and sent to every TV station in Europe. We have the satellite for another 10 minutes. Is that camera still running?
Poison! You bitch!
You bastard pig! You will never touch me with your filthy hands again!
The cheese is back and better than ever. I was convinced they would, but they didn't, and I am so happy about it. That EA didn't reshoot these cutscenes with new actors in an effort to update it, because, in my opinion, had they done that, it would have ruined the entire campaign experience. They just improved the video quality, and credit needs to be given to EA for how insanely difficult the process of remastering this low-quality footage was. Moving on to the soundtrack, back in 1995, this was the greatest soundtrack of all time, and 25 years later, it is still my personal favorite. Once again, the options here are absolutely perfect. You can choose. Do you want the classic, gritty-sounding, low-fidelity songs? Do you want those same songs, but the remastered and crisper versions? You can do that too. There are over 10 hours of music across 175 different tracks, all from the fantastically talented Frank Kelpacki. Sound here is exactly how you remember it, and if you want the game to sound like you're playing it back in the 90s, or you want to be reminded of how far audio quality has come in 2020, it's all up to you. The unit voice lines are back as well, and they're as catchy as ever. And who doesn't love those amazing death screams? Now we get to the greatest news about the remastered, and when I first heard it, I leapt out of my seat with joy. With her original voice lines lost, Kia Huntsinger has returned and recorded her dialogue. For those of you wondering who's Kia Huntsinger, she is Eva, the Tiberian Dawn announcer. Hearing these lines are some of the earliest gaming memories I've ever had.
New construction options. Unit lost. Reinforcements have arrived.
Without Huntsinger voicing Eva, this would not be Tiberian Dawn, regardless of how amazing the gameplay still remains. This game's sound design is absolute perfection. But speaking of the gameplay, all's business as usual, other than a new HUD that makes navigation a little bit easier. The commanding of troops and fighting hasn't changed at all, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, that's the best case scenario. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. All of the units and buildings for the 4 factions featured in this game have a real purpose to the success or failure of your conquests. Each faction and unit has their own strengths and weaknesses. Do you prefer your army to have the speedy ambush style of combat with advanced technology, or do you want brute strength? The choice is yours. During my playtime, I didn't find one army to be more overpowered or weaker than the other, but everybody has their own preference. And if you couldn't tell already, mine is for the Brotherhood. While I've spent limited time online against other players, I feel there's a real balance. Obviously, if you run into somebody online who's way better, you'll get curb stomped, but that's pretty much the same for all online games. The matchmaking is simple, it's stable, and it's fun, and I'd love to join up with any of you watching, and we can duke it out for supremacy online. Probably the only critique that I have for this game is for Red Alert, and that goes back more to the core design from 1996 that now carries over into the remaster. The problem with it being that most of the buildings and units are great looking, because I do love the art style, but a lot of them are just reskins, and sometimes not even that, they're just recolorings. Both GDI and the Soviet Union share the Mammoth tank, and the only difference is the color. Not light tanks? The Allies have the exact same tank. Why would the good guys and the bad guys have not only similar units, but the exact same units? Especially considering Tiberian Dawn takes place roughly 40 years after Red Alert, so wouldn't you think that these armies would modify and update all of their technology? I know it's a real nitpick, but I couldn't help but bring it up because it's always bothered me, even back when I played Red Alert for the first time way back in the day. Also, please don't give me the whole canon versus non-canon debate on this one, but if you must, and if you argue that Tiberian Dawn and Red Alert take place in 2 different universes and are not connected at all, then that's honestly just more of an indictment against the game, because then that means they just got lazy on some of the designs. At least if they are connected in the same universe, then you could somewhat see how similar units and structures would happen. The only exception to this is Kane being the advisor to Joseph Stalin. It would make sense that the Brotherhood of Nod would naturally evolve the concept of the Soviet Union's Tesla coil to the Obelisk of Light. I also absolutely love the idea of Kane being the man behind the scenes. Biding his time behind the Iron Curtain, knowing that in the coming years he would raise his own militia to dominate the planet. Switching gears to the visuals now, like I said, the visual art style is amazing. I love the building and unit designs, and these 2 logos will be burned into my memory until the day I die. I really wish real-world armies had logos this great. Similar to how Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary had it, Command & Conquer Remastered also features the ability to instantaneously switch from the old graphics to the remastered graphics. This is very handy for those of you out there who want to make comparison videos. Seeing real detail on these buildings, vehicles, and soldiers for what is the literal first time is a sight to behold, but I simply can't help but play with the old graphics from yesteryear. But again, don't forget you can literally switch the graphics back and forth at your leisure with just the tap of a button. In the end, Command & Conquer Remastered is everything I hoped it would be and even more. The $20 admission fee is simply peanuts, and if you love this game back in the day, or if you're into RTS games at all, this is an easy buy. All I hope is that Command & Conquer Remastered performs well enough both financially and critically. So much so that the bigwigs at EA will take notice, and maybe in a few years we'll get a brand new big budget Command & Conquer game. Generals 2, Renegade 2, whichever happens, I'll welcome it. I want this once proud franchise that faded away as a distant memory to reclaim the throne once again.
Mission accomplished.
Thank you guys so much for watching the review. I hope you enjoyed it. And with 2020, this seems to be the year of the remaster. We've got Command and Conquer, Tony Hawk, SpongeBob, and more. So what's the next game that you hope gets a remaster treatment? Let me know in the comments down below. But before you go, remember, peace through power. Cut. Excellent. We have to do it again in French and German. I want 300 copies made and sent to every TV station across all of Europe. We have the satellite for another 10 minutes. Is that camera still running?